Hey crafters, welcome back to She's Crafty Paperworks. If you're new here, my name is Jen, and we are celebrating Christmas in July. This week we are going to turn our attention to Tim Holtz and Idea-ology products. I'm aiming for 3 cards, and I already prepped the card fronts, and I opted to go with a pattern, and this one right here is from the paper pack that came out a couple years ago, and this is also Tim Holtz, and this isn't his black cardstock, it's the black with the distressed cardstock. So what you can do is actually take sandpaper and you can distress it. So we'll do that with this card front. And then this one is using the collage strips. So this came out in 2024. To make this card front, I took 2 collage strips and I attached them to a piece of cardstock using double-sided adhesive. And once I had them aligned the way that I wanted, then I just ran them through my A2 die cut. We may use crayons. I pulled them. I pulled my stencils as well. I've also pulled some rock candy and mica flakes, but I also pulled some texture paste. I might pull that in either to use with the stencils or to embellish on top of the elements, right? So let's do this organically. I don't have a plan in mind. So I'm going to bring out the card fronts and just start kind of playing around with the big elements first, and we can kind of go from there. For this one, I'm going to go ahead and do a little distressing. This is a sandpaper disc. We could do something like that. That's too chaotic for that. So we're going to push that one as a rule out. We could do something like that. I want to turn this window into a shaker card, so visually I think going with the black background is the best option. So the first thing I want to do is, and this is easiest if you have nails, but you can also take one of these, and we're just going to get in there, and I'm going to show you. These are just layers of paper, so we're going to go in there and we're going to cut some of this paper off. Now, if you want to avoid any kind of creasing in the image, don't let the image curl as much as I'm letting it curl. Try to keep it flatter. So, now this is flat. You can see. I'm using glossy accents to adhere the acetate down to the baseboard, and I find that that's more effective than traditional glue. The traditional glue wants to absorb into that cardboard. I find my success rate is a little bit better with glossy accents. Now, I keep my glossy accents in a fine tip bottle. It can be a little bit of a pain because you do want to clear out that nozzle every time you are done with it. Once you get the acetate down, I do heavily recommend putting it under either a paperweight or a book, something heavy. After everything was thoroughly dry, I went along the edge of the acetate and created a well with adhesive strips. But I also, because the image is so big, I needed to create support systems. And so I do have strips running in the center, but they don't go all the way down. And that's because I want the glitter to be able to flow all the way around the window. So nothing connects. Now, this may be a bit of a controversial choice, but I am going to remove all of the adhesive backing before I lay down my glitter. My rationale for this is that there are so many different strips to remove, and I am incredibly clumsy, and the likelihood of me catching one of those and jostling the glitter is incredibly high. So my thought process is to remove it and then lay down the glitter with a miniature spoon and pray for the best. Now, I am rather enthusiastic with the rock candy. You do not have to create the blizzard that I create behind this window. You could definitely pull back, but I was making a shaker card, and so I added an abundance of this. For the back, I chose to go with a clear piece of acetate that I already cut down to size. I adhered my window to the card front, so I'm just letting that dry under a glass block. Now I want to look for the largest element for my other two cards. Now, what I'm trying to do is find something that will be kind of the springboard for my other elements. Well, that's not bad. It's a maybe. All right, I like that. That's a theme. I immediately like that. So when something clicks immediately, I don't overthink it. I run with it. The reason this one is kind of standing out to me is it's almost solid, but not solid enough. I'm gonna grab these. Let's go with this size. And see how that kind of creates a grounding. You can even prop that up. This is the part where I reduce 25 minutes into 25 seconds. But what I'm doing is going through all of my stuff to gather anything that may work. I'm not committing to anything. I'm just gathering materials in the hopes that I have something to work with when I go to build the cards. Okay, so this is all dry, and Before I glue the Santa, I want to do a little bit of embellishment to him, but I also wanted to point something out. Now, this distressing right here, this is part of the image, but if you can see these two cracks here, and they go right across, that's because when I was detaching this from the base, this part right here, the thick chipboard, the image bent a little bit, and by curling up a little bit, it created that crack in the image. I haven't had that happen before. I think in part it's because of the color of the image, and usually I'm using like the white frames for, or the gray frames for Halloween. But also, I think it's also just how big this frame is, and the curling was kind of a byproduct of that. So just be aware of that. So when removing it from its layer, the base layer, just try to keep this as level as possible. Okay. Now, before I glue on Santa, I did want to do something. And I'm going to take my glossy accents. And I wanted to bring a little bit of the rock candy. And I wanted to put some on Santa. I'm trying not to make it too thick. And I am going in a circular pattern just to kind of spread this around as well. Okay, here's card number 1. Just 3 elements, but it makes a big impact. And for a shaker card, it is very flat. And I'm quite impressed by that. It's one of the flattest shaker cards I've ever made. I have a pretty good idea of how I'm going to build card number 2, but I did just make a last minute change. I had a lighter paper dowel, and I was going to use my Distress crayons and color her dress and just color the whole image. But I changed my mind on that just because this whole card is quite colorful, and I thought the paper dowel would get lost. So instead, I think I'm going to go with the darker paper dowel and have that contrast without coloring the image. I'm going to prop her up with the Simon Says stamp foam squares. Their squares have a lower rise or loft than most brands, but it still gives that dimension that I'm looking for. This card is almost done, but before I call it quits, I'm going to take my Distress crayon in saltwater taffy and just put a little bit on my glass mat and take a Q-tip and just put a little circular motion on each of her cheeks just to give a little bit of a rosy blush. When I set out to make this card, I wanted to highlight that you could make ideology cards that lean into that distress vintage aesthetic, but still be light and airy. If the first 2 cards were more on the minimalist side, this one is fully maximalist. It starts with the collage strips, and it has multiple layers of both large and small components. And in addition to that, I chose several different embellishments. The first one being this metal. It says, "Always believe in the magic of the season." And I adhered that with collage medium. That's the best one for, I think, the strongest medium to adhere it, to make it through the mail. Then I use Distress texture paste in the sparkle. So when I lift this up, it's going to be white, but it dries clear. But when you tilt it, you will see that sparkle. Then I use Distress mica stain in Frosty Mint. And the way that I tend to use my mica stains is that I don't spray, I tend to splatter. So I take the cap off and I use the nozzle that's attached to it. I'll try to get this card from different perspectives because the camera is not giving all the shimmer and sparkle its due justice. But I did want to give one particular tip in regards to the mica spray. It does not adhere fully, in my experience, to the coated paper. So that December 25 and the photograph, it will stain it, but it doesn't fully dry. And so I just take a tissue and blot it up, whatever sits on top. And I just want to say thank you for tuning in, and I hope everyone is enjoying Christmas in July and is getting a head start on some of their holiday card making. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I would greatly appreciate a like and a subscribe. It does help the channel greatly, and I will see you next week. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.